Welcome to another episode of Healing Through Love. Each week, we share ideas, experiences, and resources to increase the awareness of domestic and family violence and to empower survivors to grow and thrive. We talk with experts who share their advice, or with people who have experienced abuse, no matter where they are on their journey. This is all about healing through love. And now, here are your hosts, Sharlene Lynch and Rose Davidson.
The Healing Through Love podcast with Sharlene Lynch and Rose Davidson. Episode 80 is all about emboldening your spirit. Sara Roccisano shares her journey of adventure and awakening.
For me, now I'm kind of testing a new idea about growth mindset. And I've read a lot of books, in particular Carol Dweck, which is the mindset book, which I actually have here now. Love it. It's an excellent book. And you can see here, I don't know, you probably can see closely, but there's a lot of underlined, you probably can't see it, but this is the book I read when I was 2.5 years in unemployment to get me out of the darkness that I was really in. And also this Emboldening Adventures passion project that I've developed was also my creative outlet. And so the surrender point now that I'm at, I'm testing the growth mindset and I'm testing the abundance nature. I'm testing trust in the universe. I'm testing that it isn't zero sum. There's abundance for all and there's love, and the higher vibrational energies are love. It's compassion and it's beautiful. And
the Healing Through Love podcast with Sharlene Lynch and Rose Davidson.
Welcome to Healing Through Love podcast. I'm your host, Sharlene Lynch from sharlenelynch.com. Healing Through Love is here to help victims and survivors of domestic and family violence find their way back to living a more fulfilling and meaningful life. We interview experts and survivors who share their personal stories and offer advice to those who've experienced abuse, no matter where they are on their journey. As well as the Healing Through Love podcast, we hold annual Pamper Days here in Adelaide, South Australia for survivors of domestic and family violence, where local businesses come together and pay it forward to provide their services and resources for a day to give our survivors a much needed day of indulgence. Think day spa on steroids. We are so proud that this year in May, we have gone global and are now holding 8 different Pamper Days around the world. We're guiding people through putting these together. It is very fulfilling. We are looking for organizations or people with similar values. So get in touch with us here at Healing Through Love if you feel this is a good match for you. Every week we interview amazing people, and this week is no different. We've got Sara. Sara is the founder of Travel Inspiration Site. She is a world traveler, a spiritually transformed international public speaker, a travel storyteller and author. And we're going to discuss her book in a moment. She's embarked on adventures worldwide, from the depths of the ocean to the heights of the mountains. It's so fascinating. We're going to dive in deep to hear her travel stories. Sara's built a 20-plus year career in renewable energies, infrastructure, investment, and we're going to dive in deep and have a chat about what it was like working there on Wall Street and why she left as well. And so without any further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Sara. Hi, how are you?
hi, Sharlene. I'm well. How are you?
Oh, it's so good to have you here. It's a different time of the day for you than it is for us, and that's okay. And it's probably even a different day too. And this is what, time travel is definitely possible. We're in different time zones and we're speaking. It's so beautiful. Wow, what a story. So look, if you don't mind, can we start with maybe having a chat about what it was like working in that environment, and for what for you were the buttons that got pressed that were like, okay, this is the last straw on the camel's back, and what made you walk away from such a successful career?
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a long journey for 20 plus years. And, for me, I've lived that majority of that life of mine in New York City, in Midtown Manhattan. And it's, fast paced, work hard, play hard kind of environment. That's really energetically charged. And, this career that I built, we're talking, I oversaw $30 billion of investment opportunities, of which I closed 12 billion. So with that comes a lot of, commitment to the job, commitment to the lifestyle. Everything comes second to the deal. And so, yeah, I mean, I've kind of grew this career in renewable energy across Wall Street as an investment banker, moved on to private equity, and then onward to, roles in government, as well as in consulting and international utility companies. And for me, why I walked away from it, I want to say about a year and a half ago now, I surrendered. I surrendered to the universe. And the reason why I did that is because I pretty much hit my breaking point. My health was at risk. My mental health was at risk. And I also was just coming off the heels of coronavirus, being stuck in my 800 square foot apartment in Midtown Manhattan. So there was a lot of different kind of challenges that were all coming ahead at the same time in terms of, really kind of hitting a point where I needed a break. Mm-hmm. And for me, it's a lot of this kind of environment I just described also has a bit of a toxic work environment. We don't talk a lot. I don't see anyway in the 20 years I've worked about the importance of how we treat one another and the importance of, humanity at the end of the day when getting a job done. That comes secondary sometimes too. People are mean, people take things personally, people, kind of just are more concerned about getting, their bonus as opposed to, making sure that they keep their people and grow them from a leadership standpoint. So for me, the last straw seems pretty, simplistic, but it was just something where, the president of the company, was telling me I was getting demoted in front of everybody, on a conference call in mid-sentence as I was presenting. So that to me was the last straw. And once we hung up the phone, I did had a breakdown in my apartment. And that's when I decided I'm going to change my life.
Wow. So, this is relevant to our listeners, is the walking away. And when we're in a relationship where things are not amazing, but we still, and, that day wasn't the first day that you had this experience. Like, it had been happening, but it wasn't in a conscious level. And you were just pushing it down and just pushing through. And our listeners know what that is like. And so, like, from a human perspective, what is it do you think that we could do to recognize that there is a problem at home, at work, before we get to this point where, as you say, bless, I'm so sorry that you had that breakdown, or was it a breakthrough? What can we do to bring light onto that earlier in on the piece so that we can, save ourselves earlier?
I think it's human connection at the end of the day, because when you're working 12, 15-hour days, on limited sleep, on a lot of stress, on, not really much appreciation under fluorescent lights, in an energetically charged city that's full of concrete, right? All those things tend to add up over time. It compounds. And, over time, when people kind of just walk like robots in some ways emotionally, or they're fired up, kind of very charged way, it's hard, right? It's hard because you do want to have a communal, cooperative, work environment. And most places, you can find examples, I'm sure. But in my lines of work, there's always someone on a chopping block. There's always kind of a short-term, kind of focus to get the numbers, to get the results, to get the bonus. And, the longer term vision always kind of takes us a back seat. And the longer term vision is how we come together. We collectively want to grow together. We want to grow the organization. We want to grow leadership skills. We want to, really groom the future leaders within the organization. But time in and again, I've lost my job 3 times in this story. And in those times, out of the job losses I've had, I've been out of work in one period of time for 2.5 years straight looking for a job. So there's also that component that, compounds, right? It's one job after another where you're seeing kind of a similar kind of storyline. But then it's also the aftermath, right? What happens when you need to find a job, and when you continue to get job rejections, or, you don't get the interview. And, here I am a sole breadwinner by myself, holding down a very expensive apartment that, at times worked in my favor because I could handle the financial situation. But when you're out of work for 2.5 years and things just aren't working in your favor, that adds a compounding difficulty to the bigger story of trying to heal. So to really kind of touch upon your question, how to get ahead of it earlier, it's what feels right. When you're afraid to show up in the office, when you see people physically attacking each other in an office, I witnessed someone throwing coffee in someone's face. When people are screaming at you in the corner office, those things matter. And some people take it because they're afraid and they need a paycheck and they've kind of have a family to support or whatnot. And other people push back, but they may push back fire with fire. So it can be a difficult environment sometimes to work in. Also passive aggressive environments, so again, it comes down to, does this feel comfortable? Do I like showing up to work every morning? Am I dreading Monday morning? Am I mad that I, kind of canceled my dinner plans and canceled my weekend yet again? Am I exhausted? Right? Am I oversleeping? Am I losing weight or gaining weight? Do I have bags under my eyes? Like there's a lot of things that you can start assessing and having kind of a spiritual check and a physical check. And, does this feel right? Am I happy? Does it give me joy? And if the answer is no, then I think it's sometimes, time to start paying attention.
Yeah, I hear you. It feels so much, the conversation, like it is as a survivor, walking on eggshells. We're locked into a situation, and to a great deal, it's about finances because we don't know how we're going to survive outside of the environment. So we've got that risk, and that fear holds us in that space. And then we've got, you never know what mood he's going to be in. And then all of the other things around that as well. So, wow, it sounds similar. So this healing story, started obviously with what felt like at the time a disaster and a breakdown, but could have been a breakthrough. Like, I'm interested in the transition. How did you get yourself from that space, low frequency, everything on you, as you say, passive aggressive and angry? How did you get that to where it is that you are now, this picture of health and someone who's out there making a difference for other people in and around travel? Like, how did you get that transition to happen?
So it was not like a snap of a finger in the case of my surrender. It's been ongoing. And for me, I love to travel. I've been bitten by the travel bug in the early 2000s. And it was aligned a lot of this opportunity to see the world. I've been to over 42 countries and some really cool experiences over time. My healing elixir, I didn't realize I was doing this, but to get away, to escape, to use my vacation that most Americans don't use, right? We only get 2 weeks off sometimes. I worked for a lot of international companies, so I had the flexibility and the opportunity to have a month off in certain instances. So I used all of that time. Most Americans don't. And for me, when I took advantage of that, subconsciously, I was healing. I was going on scuba diving adventures. I was getting on planes. I was looking out the window and seeing the sunrise over the clouds. I was meeting wonderful people around the world in Asia and Africa and Europe, South America. And you start to see that there's more that meets the eye. There's more than just that cubicle with the fluorescent lights that I described. There's more than New York to New York City. And so for me, like you talked about the elixirs and the healing and, the low frequency, a lot of that, gets raised up through the ocean, the electromagnetic, properties of being neutral, the minerals in the water and being neutrally buoyant and the kind of Zen feeling it gives you. And almost like it evokes your third eye. You have this like sixth sense around you when you're underwater. And also too, I mentioned in between the job losses, for me, my spiritual awakenings were happening. So I did a lot of work with energy healers, past life regression facilitators and the like. So this was building up as we went. And for me, this year and the year before has really been a mindset shift, right? I worked in an environment that was a fixed mindset. It was a negative mindset. It was a zero sum, a scarcity mindset, right? I win, you lose, right? I want to, come out on top in terms of a financial transaction or get the deal done, no matter what cost in some respects. I mean, I'm not suggesting there was illegal activity or anything, but that was the kind of hustle culture, like get it done no matter what. And so for me now, I'm kind of testing a new idea about growth mindset. And I've read a lot of books, in particular Carol Dweck, which is the mindset book, which I actually have here now. Love it. It's an excellent book. And you can see here, I don't know, you probably can see closely, but there's a lot of underlined, you probably can't see it, but this is the book I read when I was 2.5 years in unemployment to get me out of the darkness that I was really in. And also this Emboldening Adventures passion project that I've developed was also my creative outlet. And so the surrender point now that I'm testing the growth mindset, and I'm testing the abundance nature. I'm testing trust in the universe. I'm testing that it isn't zero sum. There's abundance for all, and there's love, and the higher vibrational energies are love. It's compassion, and it's beautiful. And for me, a lot of the healing I've been doing is connecting with nature, going for hikes, being one with the soil, grounding. When I go back to New York City, I'm in the process now of trying to sell my apartment, and it's been taking a long time because New York is a place right now that is just a challenged place for quite a bit. And for me, like when I go back to New York after being here in nature, I feel the energy again, and I get all negative, and I feel my back hurts because of the concrete. So I see that this is a better path ahead. I still have my down days. Like today, as you know, I'm having a down day. It's National Kindness Day, but I'm kind of in a bad mood right now. And I'm working with it. It's something that will always be something we work with. And I'm very fortunate to have lots of wonderful people in my orbit, such as healers, like a priestess I work with. I have a mindset coach who's in Canada, who's amazing. And there's just so many wonderful people, like friends, family, support. You have to find the light in the darkness. And that's something I'm working on every single day and looking forward to the future of goodness.
Yes, so many important lessons about looking forward and the shift in the mindset as well. I love that. I love that. And so you've had all these wonderful adventures, and now you want to pay it forward. So can you tell us a little bit more about the business and how that works and how people get involved and what's in it for them? Can we dive into that?
Sure. Yeah, it's not necessarily a business per se. It's more of my passion project. So it's seeing the world through my lens. And I'm so excitable about travel. It's one of my favorite things to do in the world, and meeting people and profiling the cool experiences I've seen. As you know, I'm an American. A lot of us Americans don't travel. There's a statistic that says 40% of us even have passports. And of those that do, they only really go to Canada or Mexico or maybe the Caribbean. So when I go traveling, I'm in Australia, I'm in, Palau, I'm in Japan, I'm in all these incredible places that require a very long plane ride. And, that to me, I think is a beautiful gift to give others is look at these beautiful people I'm meeting. Look how, not scary it is to go out there beyond your comfort zone. In my case, I've come to learn that the world is a beautiful place, and the people most often are beautiful people from the heart. They're hospitable, they're compassionate, they're welcoming. They want to show you their home. This is my, environment. This is what I know. And, that's nice to see, because sometimes where I'm from, there's a lot of people that are like this, right? New York City is known for being very cold. It's a very lonely city, despite 9 million people living there. So for me to get on a plane to interact with humanity is a beautiful experience. And that's what I'd like to share. I try to do some videos on YouTube. I try to write, I try to showcase, and that's kind of my next adventure here is also I've become an international storyteller as well, and a public speaker.
I love that. I'm curious to find out more about the books that are coming up. It is just fascinating, though, that your population of New York, like Australia as a whole, like we would probably, with a bit of a squeeze, fit in the New York space, which is just fascinating to think, because we're such a huge country and so sparsely populated. It's interesting. Australians love to travel. Like we will just travel just on the weekend even. So we're strange like that. We've always been that way, and we have favourite destinations. So it looks like at the moment in Australia, our favourite location to go for the lower budget is Bali, because it's so inexpensive to travel there, and it's so inexpensive just to eat and be there. Accommodations, you can get accommodation for $30 a night, which is ridiculous. Really, that's breakfast. So that's amazing. I love it. So dive in deep and tell us about this first book that's coming out, because I know that we've said that there's two, but can you talk us through a little bit about this first book?
Sure. My first book is about my 5-week adventure around the world. So I hit up 3 continents in those 5 weeks. And, I had the call for adventure and the call for action as I was losing my job in the end of 2019. I was walking down on Wall Street in New York City and, kind of learned the news. And it just kind of worked itself out. The universe kind of cleared a path for me to create an adventure. And I was already going to Morocco for a bachelorette party. And then I worked it out where I joined a friend to go to the Amazon rainforest in Peru to work with the Shipibo shamans, and I partaked in 2 weeks of ayahuasca ceremonies that really kind of changed my life and changed my perspectives. And then onward, I went to the remote parts of the Andes Mountains in Bolivia and in southern Peru. And as this was all happening, I was 5 weeks away, kind of out of touch with the world, kind of offline, if you will. And I'm coming home to a changed New York City that was shutting down because of coronavirus in, the end of February, early March. So for me, I kind of had a life-changing, kind of perspective with the work of the plant medicines and with the shamans, the Shipibo shamans, and, how I see the world in a new, beautiful spiritual way. And these plant medicines are a healing modality for some. And for me, it healed me in some ways from traumas I didn't even know I had. And it was all related to work and the high pressure. And even 9/11, I saw, images of New York City, being with the terrorist attacks and the towers collapsing downtown. So, even those sort of kind of traumas started to, be addressed. They say it's about 20 years of therapy with one drink of the ayahuasca plant medicine with the Shipibo shamans. And so for me, coming home with kind of an awakening perspective to a world that was changing around me and shutting down, it's an interesting story about, how it's all interconnected and how really at the end of the day, it's about love and connection and heartfelt connection. So yeah, that's book number 1. And then book number 2, thank you, Heart, begins, the story in 2021 as like other kind of pressures around me are forcing me to surrender. And here I go on some more adventures with Native American medicine men out in North Dakota, with priestesses in Colorado, driving up the Pacific coast with the whale energy, going to El Capitan in Yosemite, working with the butterfly energy of metamorphic energy with, the women's circle I was in the woods with the redwoods. And then even, kissing wolves and going out west and down to Mexico with the shamans at Teotihuacan, who are the sons of Don Miguel Ruiz, who wrote the 4 Agreements. So these stories together show a story of me kind of where I am today about personal growth and really reinvention, but knowing that all the beautiful kind of work along the way and the scars I've kind of endured just from, the tough environment I've described in some ways, help prepare me to be the person I am to really kind of take on this new chapter. And it's been nothing but great. Like, I'm really happy. Like, I'm smiling. I'm just hopeful. I'm working with, people who see the world in different ways. And it's a new experiment for me, which I am really excited about, not looking backwards. I'm leaving New York. I'm selling my apartment. I'm moving forward, and it's a good thing.
Excellent. So where are you going to be moving to, Sara?
I'm here in Connecticut for the time being, and which is, it's a close state to New York. We're in the tri-state area, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut metro area. So I'm still close to New York City. I can get on a train and get there within 2 hours, not a problem. In fact, I got to go back this week to, fix my dishwasher in my apartment. But yeah, right now Connecticut works. It's beautiful. It's by the ocean. It has beautiful trees. It's just a really pretty place. I've considered Colorado, but that may happen down the line. We'll see.
Oh, wow. Okay. So what's next for you in your healing journey?
What's next for me? Well, I am at the view now of taking it day by day and living in the now. So there is no plan. I was a queen of planning. It had to be planned out. This is how we, diligence deals. This is the approach we do in business. This is upside, downside, base case scenarios. This is how it's going to work out, right? And now I kind of have to figure out, scrap all that and just kind of feel my way through things. So for me, what's next? Like, I'm focusing on finishing up my manuscript, which I'm almost done. I'm very proud of what's coming out of me in terms of my writing. It's a healing modality, and I'm absolutely enjoying the process. So the book's going to be out in 2024 that you could see on my website how to get it. Most likely it's going to be on Amazon and elsewhere. And then there'll be the second book. And I have a few other creative projects up my sleeves that I can't necessarily talk about, but it is supporting the idea that when you create a void and you push out what's not working for you, it fills the void with good blessings. And so in things that you don't even realize and you can't even imagine, you may think it's this way, but it's going to show you this way, and this way is 10 times better. And so that's what this project's about, which I'm very excited about, and I hope to share it with everyone when it does come out.
So let's dive into that, because I think that's really relevant for our listeners, is that we only know what we know because we are very shut off. That's how he likes to keep you, and limited access to other people. And, you're told this is how things are because it's coercive control. So similar to be locked into an employment or a job or a position where this is all that you don't know outside of that. So you're advocating that by saying no and opening a space and not actually asking the space to be filled, just holding a frequency of I am open, then, the universe will allow you to be filled with more opportunities. Is that what we're saying?
100%. So it's my favorite term called pronoia. Have you heard that term before?
No, teach me.
Okay, so pronoia is the opposite of paranoia. So when we think we're paranoid, it means the universe is working against us. It's out to get us. If we're pronoid, the universe is working in our favor. It's pro, not para. And so for me, that's the idea. It's having pronoia, knowing that the universe is there to help and support. And sometimes, you trip along the way in that path, but sometimes you have to look at that trip as working for you, not against you. It's opening doors. It's creating opportunities. It's making you stronger. It's helping you kind of be resilient and rise up and realize what's important at the end of the day. So for me, that's a beautiful thing. It's the Rumi quote, when you walk the path, the way appears. So you got to take it just day by day and let the path appear as you continue to walk, and just show up to life, show up for yourself, and continue to follow your heart and have that beautiful growth mindset.
Yeah, it is about having that faith and that trust and just feeling safe enough to take that step and head in that direction. And yes, it is about just knowing that it's going to be okay. And if it's not, then that's part of getting towards being okay, and not making things worse than they are. Yeah, I love it. So fascinating. I can't wait to read both of your books. They sound amazing. And and now the link to the website where you can get access to everything is going to be in the show notes, and also in the show description, as well as some other beautiful information about Sara and her business. Sara, so just in closing, have you got some words of wisdom to share with our listeners today?
Words of wisdom. The world is a good place. It can be. There is beauty in the world. There is light in the world, despite the darkness. There is darkness there, and there's challenge, and there is difficulty, 100%. But we are creatures that can rise above and can know that there is goodness for us. It's pronoia.
It's about having that positive expectation. I love it. This has been such a lovely conversation. Thank you for bringing your healing, beautiful energy to us today, and healing through love, and helping us, start with that open mind of what's possible, not having that level of expectation, but just knowing that everything's going to be okay and being filled to be able to move forward. I love it. You've been listening.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. It's so lovely to
I
chat.
feel better. I started this conversation in a bad mood, so I feel a lot better. I think I'm back to myself again. So thank you.
Look at us. We're healing with love.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for listening today, listeners. It's been a beautiful adventure, hasn't it been? And I know that you're as curious as I am about reading the books. If you're listening today and you want to pay it forward and make a difference for our survivors of family and domestic violence, and it doesn't matter where you are in the world, reach out, because we've got at least 9 locations, so 1 in Adelaide, South Australia, and then 8 others around the world that are looking for participants who want to pay it forward. So we're looking for practitioners who can hold the space to heal someone on the day. And we're also looking for organisers. And of course, as always, we're looking for sponsors. But if you would like to have your brand align with our brand, please reach out to Healing Through Love and have a conversation. That's a goodbye from me and a goodbye from Sarah. Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Healing Through Love. You can get further resources, see the show notes, or simply reach out to us via our website at htlaustralia.org. Thanks so much for joining us, and we look forward to your company next time on the Healing Through Love podcast.